Thank you, Bruno. We welcome questions and comments from all of you, and if you'd like to direct your question to any particular panelist, please do let us know. Yes, please.
Thank you, Susan. I'm from Japan, and I'm former Vice Minister for International Affairs of Ministry of Economy and Trade and Industry. So I have the question to the Ms. Kiviniemi, the Deputy Secretary of OECD. Before that, I'm very much glad to be here in Doha because I participated Doha round this 2001. And since, even though we couldn't accomplish all the result yet, at that time, during that period, the WTO, we worked to create ITA, so-called trade in e-commerce, to enforce all the trade of e-commerce be without tariff, zero tariff level, in order to spur the trade through such kind of digital, the internet-based, the communication-based, the trade. Well, that is one way that we try to promote the globalization. But now, OECD is very much, concentrating on the BEPS and all that kind of the tax issue. And I think that's really the right way to go through in the consideration of all the ethics and so on. But I have two questions. One thing is, you said it's about 20 countries. And I'm impressed very much the BEPS is discussed amongst global cooperation in the United States, mainly I think, but not so much in Japan. I'm very sorry but to my regret, as I don't hear so much in the media and so on. That's one thing. That's what kind of the discussion is going on in the 20 countries and so on. And the second issue is, as I said at the beginning, what do you analyze about e-commerce trade with zero tariff, and that is expanded still now? What kind of the relations, what kind of implication do you think about the taxation issue and tariff issue? Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're quite short on time, so we're going to be brief with the answers and perhaps follow up with you after.
Thank you for very good questions. And when it comes to this BEPS work, I have to say that we are very pleased at the OECD that so many countries have always committed and are ready to implement those guidelines. But as I said in the beginning, so more countries are needed. Of course, we want this instrument to be multilateral so that all the countries where multinational enterprises work, that they are on board. That would make this really a 100% efficient tool in order to make sure that taxes are paid and they go into a right address. But then when it comes to this e-commerce, so that is one of the issues on the agenda also of the WTO, and we are also at the OECD working in order to understand that world better, how it affects the global value chains. But the discussion going on right now, also at the OECD, is very worried about the direction of the globalization and protectionism, because so many countries have implemented new protectionist measures, not a huge one, but small ones. So we are afraid, and we are doing, of course, all what is in our hands in order to convince all the policymakers of the good sides of the globalizations, that free trade that really is needed in order to improve national incomes in all the participating countries, but also flanking policies are needed in order to make the growth more inclusive.
Thank you very much, Mari. I'm afraid, unfortunately, we're out of time. We'll take one more question, the distinguished gentleman in front, and we'll ask for a 16th answer. Please, sir.
Oui, je vous remercie. Je suis ancien ministre algérien, académicien.
Thank you very much. I am a former Algerian minister as well as researcher. I worked for a long time on the subject of poverty, and at the time I proposed a process that was adopted by the World Bank as well as the IMF and the UNDP. And in this context, I have a question that is related to the way of thinking that is adopted in coordination between political governance and the link between the world of enterprises and the world of research. And I agree to what was said in the one of the previous interventions, where it was said that the issue of ethics overlaps with political priorities. These priorities are aimed at reducing poverty and enhancing harmonization and coordination. However, companies will be facing different priorities. My second observation
To finish your remarks, sir.
Oui, c'est pas grave. Il me semblait que c'était un espace de dialogue et d'enrichissement. Maintenant, c'est vrai.
I believe this is a platform for dialogue, and naturally it is important to have such a platform in order for people to exchange questions and ideas. Why not? So I will be as brief as possible. Don't you think we need to focus more on coordination? In Japan, we are trying to focus more on the needs of societies, and companies at the international level have begun to take the climate and environmental factors more into account. Meanwhile, politics have a society of their own, which raises the question, don't you believe that this deserves further discussion and coordination? Thank you very much.
Je suis assez d'accord avec le commentaire qui a été fait.
I agree with what was said. We need to focus on coordination and working harmoniously. Governments must cooperate with companies in order for us to achieve sustainable progress in all fields. For that, it is safe to say that transparency and accountability within companies would help create new jobs and find new solutions. Companies that work from the bottom up.
Please join me in thanking our distinguished panelists.